Every one of these men built something enormous. Between them, they controlled the concrete in New York, the garbage on Long Island, the docks, the garment trade, the trucking, and the illegal alcohol supply of an entire American city. They ran organizations with hundreds of members. They were, in their moment, among the wealthiest men in the United States. And none of it was on paper anywhere. And every one of them had children. That is what this is about, not the murders and not the trials. What was actually left for the sons and daughters when the empire came apart. Because in the ordinary version of the American story, a man works his way up so his children get something better than he had. Here is the number that runs through everything you are about to hear. Not one of them inherited anything. Not the organization, because that always went to somebody else. Not the money, because most of it was never really theirs. What they inherited was a surname. And a surname is not an asset you own. It is a fact about you that other people are free to use. These are the 5, counting down to the worst of them. Number 5, Carlo Gambino's children. Start here, because on paper, this is the one that should have worked. Carlo Gambino was the most successful criminal in American history. He ran the largest crime family in the country for 20 years and sat at the head of the commission for 15. He commanded something like 500 soldiers, and in a career spanning more than 50 years, he served a total of 22 months in prison for tax evasion in 1937. He died on the 15th of October, 1976, at home in Massapequa, of a heart attack watching a baseball game. He was 74. A priest gave him the last rites and said afterwards that he had died in a state of grace. At least 2,000 people came to the funeral, including judges and police officers. He beat it completely, and he had 4 children, Phyllis, Thomas, Carlo Jr., and Joseph, and he set them up in the most legitimate business he had, which was trucking in the garment district of Manhattan. If you manufactured clothing in New York, your product moved on Gambino trucks because there was no real competition. Around 400 vehicles across a group of companies. In 1962, Thomas married Frances Lucchese, the daughter of the boss of another of New York's 5 families. Carlo welcomed it openly. 2 crime dynasties joined by a wedding, which is what European royal houses used to do. Then, in February of 1992, it ended in the strangest way of anything in this video. Thomas and Joseph took a deal, $12 million in fines and restitution, sell every delivery company they owned, and all 400 trucks to buyers with no connection to organized crime within about a year, and leave the garment district permanently. No prison. They paid, and they walked away. Their father spent 40 years building a position in that industry. His sons wrote a check to be released from it. And 15 months later, Thomas was convicted in federal court in Brooklyn on 2 racketeering counts and served 5 years. He died on the 3rd of October, 2023, at 94, having spent his last 2 decades almost entirely out of public view. Phyllis died in 2007, Carlo Jr. in 2019, Joseph in 2020. Number 5, because they lived long lives and nobody was murdered. But look at the shape of it. The most successful crime boss who ever lived left his children a business, and the price of getting out of it was $12 million and every truck they owned. Number 4, Paul Castellano's children. Castellano ran the Gambino family after Carlo. He was Carlo's cousin, his brother-in-law, and his chosen successor. He built the family a mansion on Todd Hill, on the highest natural ground on Staten Island, 400 feet above the harbor. 17 rooms, Carrara marble, an Olympic-sized swimming pool indoors, and another outside. A garage built like a showroom for 13 cars. and a pillared portico and circular drive designed to resemble the White House, which is exactly what the neighbors called it. He had 4 children with Nina, his wife of 46 years, 3 sons, and a daughter. On the 16th of December, 1985, he was shot dead on the pavement outside a Manhattan steakhouse. And here is what his family actually inherited. Not the organization that went to the man who ordered the killing. What they got was the property and the businesses. And the businesses were a problem, because Castellano had spent 40 years making sure his legitimate operations and his criminal ones were the same operations. There was no clean half to keep. Nina got the house. Try to picture that. A woman in her late 60s, widowed in the most public way imaginable, alone in 33,000 square feet, built for a man who is not coming back. She lasted 5 years. In February of 1952, in the early 1990s, she sold it because she could no longer carry the taxes and the upkeep. And the ending is the part that stays with you. That house went back on the market in October of 2023 at $16.8 million. It fell out of contract. It was relisted the following year at $18 million. It was withdrawn again with no buyer. The reasons the property people give are, in their flat way, the cruelest epitaph the man could have received. The interior is all marble, so renovation would be brutally expensive, and it was customized so completely to one man's idea of what power looks like that almost nobody's taste matches it. He built it to be permanent. It is still standing, and its permanence is now the reason nobody wants it. Number 3. Lucky Luciano's family. This one is different, because there wasn't one. Charles Luciano invented the modern American mafia. In 1931, he ended the war between the New York families, abolished the title of boss of all bosses, divided the city into 5 families, and created the commission that governed American organized crime for the next 55 years. Every man in this video operated inside a structure that came out of his head. Estimates of his peak fortune run into the hundreds of millions in 1930s money. He never married. He had no children. He had several long relationships across 2 continents. And the woman he called the love of his life died before he did. He was convicted in 1936, not of murder, not of racketeering, but of compulsory prostitution, a charge he denied for the rest of his life, and regarded as a humiliation. 30 to 50 years. His sentence was commuted in 1946, and he was deported because he had never become an American citizen. He had arrived on the Lower East Side as a boy of 9. He spent his last 16 years confined to Naples, watched by Italian police and American agents. Unable to leave the city, a tourist attraction people came to look at in restaurants. He died of a heart attack at Naples Airport on the 26th of January, 1962, aged 64. He was there to meet an American producer who wanted to make a film about his life. His estate was reported at around $1 million, and there was nobody to leave it to. No wife, no children, no heir, no succession, no will fight, no dynasty. The money simply stopped. But there is one thing, and it is the reason this sits at number 3. In 1935, at the height of his power, Luciano bought his family a vault at St. John's Cemetery in Queens. His mother was the first person laid in it that August. His father followed. Then he was convicted and deported and could not get to it for 27 years. When he died, his relatives had to petition the United States government for permission to bring his body home. Permission was granted. The first time he was allowed into the country in 16 years, he was in a coffin, and they buried him beside his parents under the name they gave him, Salvatore Lucania, not Lucky Luciano. 2,000 people came. Number 2. John Gotti's children. Gotti had 5 children with Victoria DiGiorgio. On the 18th of March, 1980, the youngest boy, Frank, was 12 years old and riding a friend's mini bike on the street near their house in Howard Beach. He rode out into the road and was struck by a car. He was killed. The driver was a man named John Favara, and he was not a stranger. He was the goddess's backyard neighbor, a service manager at a furniture company. It was investigated and treated as an accident. Reports at the time indicated the boy had ridden out from behind a dumpster. In the months that followed, Favara was threatened. The word murderer was reportedly written on his car. He decided to sell his house and move his family away. On the 28th of July, 1980, before the sale went through, he was abducted outside his workplace. He was never seen again. He was eventually declared legally dead, and nobody has ever been charged. That was 46 years ago, and it is only the beginning of what happened to that family. John Gotti died in a federal prison hospital in Missouri in 2002 of throat cancer. His eldest son became acting boss, was convicted of racketeering in 1999, served 6 years, and then faced 4 more federal trials between 2004 and 2009. He was never convicted in any of them. Prosecutors gave up in 2010. His daughter Victoria built a media career on the surname, columns, books, and a reality television series filmed at a mansion in Old Westbury on Long Island. That mansion went into foreclosure. In December of 2022, J.P. Morgan Chase acquired it for $2.65 million. Then it stood empty for 2 years and became a destination for urban explorers who broke in and filmed the decay, designer clothes still hanging in the closets, furniture nobody had come back for, a hidden room behind a built-in cabinet. In late 2024, it sold for $1.1 million. And on the 10th of August, 2026, days ago, Gotti's grandson Carmine reported to a federal prison in New Jersey to begin 15 months for fraud. He had asked the judge for more time because his mother is seriously ill and needs a kidney, and he wanted to give her one of his. The judge said no. Number 1. Al Capone's only son. Albert Francis Capone was born in Brooklyn in December of 1918. His parents married 26 days later. By that point, his father had already contracted syphilis and never properly treated it. The boy was born with it. As a small child, he developed a mastoid infection, an infection of the bone behind the ear that killed children routinely in the 1920s. He needed brain surgery. He survived it and was left permanently deaf in one ear. His father, within a few years, was the most famous criminal on earth, a man who could buy police departments, judges, and entire city administrations. And the only thing he successfully passed to his only child was an infection that nearly killed him. That is the first sentence of this story. Here is the rest. Sonny went to university and got a degree. He married and had 4 daughters. He sold used cars, apprenticed as a printer, distributed tires, and ran a restaurant in Miami with his mother. He never went near the organization. He never gave an interview about his father, and he could have been paid extremely well to do so at any point in 4 decades. In 1959, television turned his father into a weekly villain in a series called The Untouchables. It was produced by Desi Arnaz, who had been at school with Sonny in Miami. Sonny and his mother sued. The case was dismissed. The reasoning is the thing that ended his life as he had tried to live it. You cannot defame a dead man. Al Capone had no legal reputation left to protect because he was no longer a person. He was a fact of public history, and public history belongs to everybody, which meant the name Sonny had been born with was public property. Any studio, any writer, any producer could do whatever they liked with it forever, and he had no standing to object. 6 years later, On the 7th of August, 1965, he was arrested in a supermarket in North Miami Beach. He had taken 2 bottles of aspirin and a packet of flashlight batteries, $3.50. He was 46 years old, recently divorced, raising 4 daughters. He pleaded no contest and got 2 years probation. Asked about it outside the courthouse, he said the only thing anybody remembers him saying, "Everybody has a little larceny in them." The following year, he went to court voluntarily and changed his surname. Capone came off. He became Albert Francis Brown. His lawyer explained it plainly. He was just sick and tired of fighting the name. He died on the 8th of July, 2004, at 85, and his neighbors found out afterwards. The people on his street, who had known him for years as an elderly man called Albert Brown, learned only when he died that they had been living next door to Al Capone's only son. That is number 1, and here is why. Every other child in this video lost something. The Gambinos lost a business. The Castellanos lost a house. Luciano had nobody to lose anything to. The Gottis lost a boy and a mansion and are still losing. Sonny Capone lost his name and then spent the rest of his life making sure nobody found the man underneath it. Al Capone spent his entire life becoming the most recognizable man in America and died at 48 with his mind gone. His son spent his entire life becoming nobody, and it took until his own funeral before anybody worked out who he was. That was the point. As far as anyone can tell, that was the whole point.